Today we celebrate the day that Catherine of Siena entered the service of God. Here is a bit on Catherine of Siena. She was born Caterina de Jacopo di Picanassa, and her twin Giovanna were born on 25 March 1347, shortly before the Black Death ravaged Europe, and was raised in Siena, which is now part of Italy. This was the 20th full-term pregnancy for her mother. 24 babies born alive. But of that 24, less than 12 survived to see their first birthday. Caterina's twin Giovanna died as she was being raised on a wet nurse, as did the next baby. Quite often that was how they died, because the wet nurse had syphilis in her milk, and that killed the infant. Caterina had her first vision of Jesus at age 5 or 6. She and her brother were on their way home from visiting a married sister, Bonaventure, when she was said to have experienced a vision of Christ, seated in glory with the apostles Peter, Paul, and John. Raymond continues that at age 7, Catherine vowed to give her whole life to God. At about 16 years old, her dearest oldest sister, Bonaventure, died in childbirth, and her parents wanted Catherine to marry Bonaventure's widower, so that to be mother to the half-dozen children and produce more. Catherine was absolutely opposed and started a strict fast. It was Bonaventure who had told Catherine, "When my husband beats me or goes to his other women, I start to fast and refuse to have sex with him until he stops doing these things." Besides fasting, Catherine further disappointed her mother by cutting off all her long hair as a protest against being overly encouraged to improve her appearance to attract a husband. Caterina explained her religious asceticism and practices developed during this time as a teenager. You build a cell inside your mind from which you can never flee. And in there, you put people to represent Christ, to represent the Blessed Virgin, and you serve them throughout your life. The person in her mind that was Christ was her father. The Blessed Virgin was her mother. And in her mind, she served them just as she served them in real life. Caterina resisted the accepted course of marriage and motherhood on the one hand, or a nun's veil on the other. She chose to live an active and prayerful life outside a convent's walls, following the model of the Dominicans. A vision of St. Dominic gave strength to Caterina, but her wish to join his order was no comfort to Lapa, her mother, who took her daughter with her to the baths of Bagno Vigna, God, that's one's hard to do, to improve her health. Caterina fell seriously ill with a violent rash, fever and pain, which conveniently made her mother accept her wish to join the Mantatelet, the local association of local devout laywomen, primarily widows and informally devoted to the Dominican spirituality. Funny how that worked right into Caterina's plans. The Mantelate taught Catherine how to read, and she lived in almost total silence and solitude in the family home for multiple years. Her custom of giving away clothing and food without asking anyone's permission cost her family significantly, but she requested nothing for herself. In circa 1368, at the age of about 21, Caterina experienced what she described in her letters as a mystical marriage with Jesus, later a popular subject in the art of the mystical marriage of Saint Catherine. She was said to have as her wedding ring the foreskin of Jesus' penis, and that her wedding ring was invisible. It went as quite a joke then and forward for more than 400 years. At this point, Catherine was told by Christ to leave her withdrawn life and enter the public life of the world. Catherine rejoined her family and began helping the ill and the poor, where she took care of them in hospitals or in private homes. As social and political tensions mounted in Siena, Katharina was drawn to intervene in wider politics. 1374 was Katharina's first journey to Florence, probably to be interviewed by the Dominican authorities at the General Chapter. As there was no information about that interview, she was found to be orthodox enough. Katharina was traveling with her followers throughout northern and central Italy, advocating reform of the clergy and advising people that repentance and renewal could be done through the total love of God. In Pisa, 1375, she announced what influence she had to sway that city and Lucca away from the alliance with the anti-papal League, whose force was gaining momentum and strength. She also lent her support for promoting the launch of a new crusade. Katharina dictated letters from 1375 forward to scribes to reach the women and men of her increasing circle, widening her audience to include figures in authority as she begged for peace between the republics and the principalities of Italy, and for the return of the papacy from Avignon, France, to Rome, the Vatican. Catherine's influence with Pope Gregory VI played a role in his decision to leave Avignon for Rome. She was then sent by him to negotiate peace with Florence. She dictated to secretaries her set of spiritual treatises, the Dialogue, a Divine Providence. The Great Schism of the West led Catherine of Siena to go to Rome with the Pope. She sent numerous letters to princes and cardinals to promote obedience to the new Pope, Pope Urban VI, and defend what she calls the vessel of the Church. She died 29 April 1380, exhausted by her rigorous fasting. Urban VI celebrated her funeral and burial in the Basilica of Santa Maria sopra Minerva in Rome. The devotion around Caterina of Siena developed rapidly after her death. She was canonized in 1461, declared patron saint of Rome in 1866, and the patron saint of Italy, together with Francis of Assisi, in 1939. She was the first woman, along with Teresa of Avila, to be declared a Doctor of the Church on 4 October 1970 by Pope Paul VI. She was also proclaimed patron saint of Europe in 1999 by Pope John Paul II. Only 4 women have ever achieved the vaulted title of Doctor of the Church: Catherine of Siena, Hildegard of Bingen, Teresa of Avila, and Teresa of Lisieux.